aka Joyful Savage. I'm out here in Times Square. No, not in Times Square, New York City, somewhere.
Bryant Park.
I'm with my man Jaya, aka Urban Sage Deliverance on Instagram. I'm gonna link him at the bottom for the description. Make sure to go and follow him. He's got some amazing content. He's a monk here in New York City, so in the flesh with him, 2019. I met up with him for the first time today, and we had like a great talk. We talked about topics like the Bhagavad Gita, which is like an ancient Hindu scripture, and I was gonna ask him for some knowledge and some wisdom on it. So out of this book, I think you can just go into it. We're talking about how does he sit?
Yeah, so there are a series of wonderful questions in the Bhagavad Gita. Basically, spiritual life in general, but especially spiritual life, progresses on the strength of your question. According to the depth of your inquiry, that will determine the depth of your ability to grow in spirituality. And the reason most people have a hard time growing spiritually is because their questions are not very deep. So I have a little aphorism that I like to use, that evolution of inquiry precedes evolution of being. And so far as according to the evolution of your question, that will determine the type of knowledge you can get to use to transform your being. So evolution, I like it too. It's a good aphorism. Evolution of inquiry precedes evolution of being. So what's very nice about most of the literatures and the Vedic canon or the Upanishad genre of Bhagavad Gita is that the whole scripture is based on questions and answers. You don't encounter that so much in the Middle Eastern traditions. It's just kind of like a one-way conversation. God just coming at you, and you have to do what he says, otherwise there are severe consequences. That's not exactly inspiring, especially for the modern mindset where we're kind of inspired and encouraged to like question things, to doubt things. In fact, doubt is itself the indication of intelligence that's operating. People don't doubt things, and they're either robots or they're scared. So what's interesting about the genre of the Upanishads Gita is that the genre is an exchange of questions and answers, because that's how you actually get knowledge. You don't get knowledge by not caring about it. That's why, as an aside, that's why modern education is not very effective, because we're forced to take subject matters that we're not actually inquisitive about. So therefore we can't actually process any of the things that we're getting because we don't have any questions about it. The things that we do very well in are usually the things that we have a lot of questions about. So anyway, your inquiry is an extremely important factor in your ability to absorb knowledge. So anyway, Bhagavad Gita has many wonderful questions, and one of the amazing questions that I personally appreciate comes in chapter 2, verse 54, where Arjuna asked the question, how does a self-realized person sit? Now, sitting doesn't mean does he sit in lotus, does he sit, with his legs spread, like sitting.
Wait, real quick, I want to fill them in. The Bhagavad Gita is it's an ancient Hindu text, and it's the story of a guy who's about to go into battle, correct? And he's getting scared before battle because he thinks maybe his earthly realm, his name will be tarnished, and he doesn't want to do shame to his family or something.
Well, it's a fratricidal war, so the people he has to kill are family members.
Right.
So that's also kind of problematic.
And then, of course, Krishna, which is God in human form, gives him like a motivational pep talk right before battle.
A spiritual motivational.
A spiritual gangster motivational pep talk before battle. And he says to him like a long thing, and 2.59, right? He says, how does this man sit? We're talking about giving up desire, being in the modern world, interacting with the modern world, but also not getting too attached to it, but giving up desire. And it says, how does he sit? And you said something earlier that I really liked, but how did he sit? So
how does he sit? So the meaning of the question is, how does a self-realized person keep himself from running out after the world externally? One of the modern diseases, it's really a disease, it's not a physical disease but a psychological disease, is that we keep seeking fulfillment external to the self. And the problem with that is that fulfillment is actually internal to the self, or it's in the self itself. So as long as we're looking for happiness external to the self, then we will have to suffer the consequences of that search in the form of suffering. So the problem is that we have a world that attracts us to go external for our fulfillment. Whether it's, the object of sex desire, whether it's money, whether it's that next position in your career and so on, the whole environment is attracting us to look for happiness external to the self. But a self-realized person is very self-content. So Arjuna inquires, how is it possible for him to sit in this world that is so seductive? I think we all can admit that the modern world is quite seductive. We were just talking about just being in New York. It's hard to keep your eyes to yourself. There's just so many beautiful people walking around.
Right.
And you're just like,
I can attest to that.
and you're like trying to like study, you know, you're trying to like read something, and after 1 hour you've read like two sentences.
I got two
Because your eyes are just. So Arjuna wants to know, how is it possible for the self-realized person who lives in a very seductive world to remain self-situated? In answering that question, Krishna actually speaks of several passages in answering that, but he speaks 259. 259 is a very famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, and in that particular verse he says that the self-realized person is able to withdraw his senses from their objects because he has destroyed craving for those objects inside. In other words, you may be able to withdraw your senses from the object, just like now we're sitting in Bryant Park and we got the problem that, you know, can't control our eyes. But then
For women going by.
so you put your, you know, fuck this. I'm gonna keep my eyes in the book. But even if you are able to do that successfully, the craving is still inside. So it's only a matter of time before that craving manifests itself externally, and again looking for the external object. So then Krishna says that the self-realized person is not only able to withdraw himself from the object, because anyone can do that, but he's able to do it because he's extinguished craving inside. How did he extinguish craving? Because he's having a vision of the transcendence. And that experience of the transcendence is actually this technical Sanskrit word of that experience is called Atmaramata, which means the quality of self-satisfaction. He has experience of his own self, which is experience of just self-satisfied. And therefore craving is destroyed, and there is nothing impelling him to look outside of himself for happiness. And so what a wonderful way to be situated.
Yes, this is amazing topic we can discuss for the rest of my lifetime into the next. And we was thinking there's multiple ways. I'm seeing multiple ways maybe to go about vanquishing or dissolving this craving. And if it would be maybe for women or sexual desire, it's like I was saying, one path is, oh, maybe just sleep with a bunch of women until it kind of naturally pulls away. And then there's also other ways that you can do it, maybe dissolving it in your own mind, or samsara, right? The last thing we
were mentioning how however you go about doing it, the general process that Krishna recommends for dissolving desire is called yoga. The way the word yoga is used in the Bhagavad Gita for the most part is as a means to enlightenment. So the purpose of yoga is to be enlightened. You're not going to be enlightened if you're chained down by desires. Right. So in any process of yoga, the extinguishing of desire is a pretty important component of it. Anyway, however you do it, desire has to be extinguished, otherwise you have the experience of samsara. The experience of samsara in a nutshell is suffering. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that samsara means the cycle of death and rebirth. And the experience of that is basically misery. Krishna calls the samsara as dukhalayam, a shastratam. The word dukhalayam means a house of misery. So the material world is actually a house of misery. That means whatever room you're going to, misery will be found. And even if you say, no, I like it, it's very nice, then Krishna says it is temporary, which is itself the cause of suffering, because if you like something, you get attached to it, and then if it disappears, you suffer all the more.
Right.
So if we want to stop this suffering process, we have to extinguish the desire. Krishna recommends the path of yoga for doing so. He recommends different yogas in Gita, so you can study up on that if you're interested in the subject matter. And of course, your interest in the subject matter will depend on your question.
Right.
I generally, because the outside world is so seductive, one of the most dangerous things about this modern world is that it kills the spirit of inquiry about spiritual subjects. That's actually why it's so dangerous. But the nice thing about it is that it's also suffering. So that suffering usually compels one to search for deeper answers. So hopefully you don't have to do the suffering paradigm, but however you go about it, whatever you do, you should deepen your inquiry. If you want a more fulfilling life, that means you have to deepen your inquiry. And then see where that deep question takes you.
Right.
It took me in the direction of Bhagavad Gita, it may take you elsewhere. But in any case, one thing that we'll have in common is the depth of the inquiry.
Right. I think That was a ton. I know it's a ton for the viewers too, but
Even it's in such short time, still so much.
right, there's many paths to the top of the mountain, and they're all pointing kind of at the same things, like truth, God, divineness, love. Like it's all the same thing that we're pointing towards. And it was amazing to meet you, Jaya, and thank you for the interview. He's a real life monk that lives in New York City. He's a busy dude. He needs to get to a subway appointment to do some spiritual stuff. So thank you. Wow. Check me out for some new future videos. I'm going to be doing more with him, and subscribe.